This is Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Dawg Pound. I am so excited. I need music. Okay. There's got to be some sort of fanfare that goes with that, like trumpets blaring or something.
Yes.
Something like that. Okay, we are live on the air, broadcasting on eight social media channels with the expert panel. I'm talking about Jennifer Briggs, one of the most brilliant women in the car business. How you doing, kid?
Well, I'm doing all right, Jim. How are you?
I'm feeling really good. What is your title this week?
Well, I believe it is still the Empress of Executive Management.
Yes, it is the Empress of Executive Management.
And I'm very excited about the topic for today's show, except that it really does make me feel a little old in the car business. So
a little mature.
It makes you feel what?
A little old. Like I've been talking about this since 2010. So we're still.
We've all been talking about it. But it's starting to become a reality, or at least they're attempting to make it a reality. And I'm getting mixed reviews. I've talked to a lot of people the last couple of days. Video, is it going to replace in showroom sales? Not just sales, F&I and BDC. I mean, are we just going to be talking to the customers on video? Let's talk about that in a second. And what is your title this week, April Simmons?
I think you went with the Duchess of Productivity. So
Duchess of Productivity. I love that.
Considering the stacks on my desk right now, I think it's a good title. I feel pretty good about that.
Owen Automotive in Phoenix, Arizona, the Duchess of Productivity. We should have attended the coronation last week with all these titles,
The only crown.
Yeah, we could at least that in the back of the audience with Prince Harry.
To get in and out.
Oh, what can I say? And the curmudgeon himself, the Mad Russian, the king of reinsurance, directly back from Agent Summit, my good friend Max Zanan. How you doing, Max?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. I skipped, the last show because I was in Vegas.
We missed you.
I'm back in full effect.
Okay. Well, you and I have talked about the subject, and you're going to disagree with me on just about everything. So,
no problem.
Nothing has changed. Now, the king of neutrality, my good friend. Directly back in the States from Canada, my good friend Jason Harris. Hey, big guy. Turn your microphone on, Jason.
He was being all considerate and muted.
Yeah. I didn't say
the most considerate of all of us, right?
I didn't say the king of technology, you noticed.
I was going to listen. Last week it was me. I had two laptops running, had to switch back and forth.
Here we go.
There he is.
There we are. Look at that.
How you doing, Jason? Now that you got your technology working.
I know. Now I got my tech working. No, I'm looking forward to Max disagreeing with everything we say today. So this is gonna be fun.
We're here for you, Max.
Yeah.
I missed that last week. It was.
There was too much logic and
There was like
ideas that we could bring to.
That's why I didn't come on.
And Jennifer, we didn't agree on everything, did we?
We were offsite.
We didn't.
Without Max, we had a lot of actionable content.
We did.
Okay. We might name Max the Lord of Negativity.
He's
not negative. I don't think Max negative.
No.
No.
Just devil's advocate.
She's your partner, and she's the only one who didn't defend him that time. She was like, "Nah, he's right."
And the queen of BDC, another brilliant woman. We got some brilliant women on this broadcast.
By design.
Yeah.
I identify as a woman.
Do you? Oh, do you really?
Oh, Max.
I noticed your pronouns are behind your name.
Right. Thank you. She,
I
her.
thought your pronouns were Wu Tang.
She, her.
I thought Wu Tang.
Come on, guys. We don't want everybody to think you're not smart right off the
You
gate.
know
Okay, well, Max has gotten woke. Okay. the queen of BDC. How you doing, Bobbie?
I'm doing, man, video's so easy in my life that I'm currently standing halfway, like hunched over a desk to do the video, because when I turned it the other way, you could see the sunshine reflecting too hard and I couldn't see it. So I'm in a half stance hanging out at the dealership today.
Okay, where are you?
I am down in Alabama.
Oh, are you really?
I am really.
Okay, fantastic.
Did you get that ink dry last week, B?
Ink dry last week.
On the buy sell?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about because that's not a public conversation that I can have.
Okay, we're gonna have that conversation another time.
You know I'm
Okay,
it's not
here's
wrong.
the-
I got it.
Here's the premise. I read an article in Automotive. Everybody still there?
Yeah.
Okay, I had a power blip here. All sorts of technology problems. I had an article in Automotive News this past week that talked about video F&I. That a lot of the vendors are reintroducing a concept that we've been talking about for years. Now, Jennifer, you and Bobbie have attended many of my seminars. How long ago were we talking about this subject?
Well, I mean,
Little flip cam. Remember the little flip cam?
yeah, because it was, I mean, you introduced the flip cam to the auto industry a couple of years before I found it. And had found, like, I think in 2009 was the first content I had seen from Elise, and we started integrating video into our sales strategy in 2010. So it's been 12, almost 13 years. Hence why I said this topic is going to make me feel a little bit old. But
You remember how it used to have to be a
digital
upload?
dealer? Bobbie, it was
Everything-
probably 2005 when I introduced the flip camera. Oh well, Bobbie just.
No, I'm still here, but I need to grab a chair.
Okay. Bobbie's switching technology right now. But anyway, I introduced the flip camera at a digital dealer conference in 2005. But now the concept that we're talking about now is live communication with the F&I office at the zero moment while the customer is still on the website, while they're still clicking around looking to buy a car, or they've already indicated they would like to buy a car. And this isn't the transaction, but the F&I manager would come on with a video and offer the customer the face chat, or whatever you want to call it, Zoom chat, and they're gonna sell the products directly to the customer. Max, you had some thoughts about this.
But he does.
It's not that I had thoughts about it. You know, I spoke to people that actually worked at JM&A when they piloted the program. Right?
Okay, I wasn't going to mention JM&A, but now we've done it. Go ahead.
Right. And that's why, you know, I asked you to speak to Brian Benstock because he was the pilot for the program. That's how
I spoke to Brian Benstock. I sure did. And he had some mixed reviews on it, good and
of
bad.
course, because it's a logistical nightmare. You know, you can be, you know, a Monday morning quarterback, right, and think that this is how it should be done. If you never worked a day in a real car dealership.
Wait a minute, I've worked a lot of days in a lot of real
right.
dealerships.
You should know better than anybody that it shouldn't be done via video.
Okay, you want to go out? You want to go out behind the get ready department and duke it out? I mean, I'm going to tell you right now.
That happened a couple times.
So listen. Think of the logistics, right? The customer is in the box, right? There's no finance manager in the box. There's a TV screen, and there's an F&I manager in a remote location pitching them the menu, which is great. Which is great, no problem. So the customer says yes, no, whatever it is, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, in the real world, this is when the customer would sign you would put their paperwork in the glove compartment and see you later.
And put 13 staples through the interest
Correct.
rate.
Correct. Through the truth and disclosure box. Right. You can't do this here, right? Because after the virtual finance manager finished pitching, somebody has to go and build the deal. And guess what happens?
No,
when
wait,
you build-
time out. Time out. Jennifer, jump in here.
Have you not heard of networking? Like the deal can be loaded.
Yeah, I'm going to get to it, Jennifer. I'm going to get to it. Hold your horses.
We're talking about total transaction on the
Correct.
internet.
Correct.
One of the
somebody's got to go and
one
build
of
the
the
deal.
advocates of video is Roadster.
Guess what happens when somebody goes to build a deal? There's another deal ahead of it, or another deal. So the customer is waiting. And you know the definition of cooling off period? This is what's happening. They're calling their friends, they're calling their relatives, and like, listen, I just got this Gap and tire and wheel and a VSC, for a modest charge of $8,200. My payment went up by $97. And
why wouldn't you be live e-contracting?
So guess what happens when they say that? Everybody becomes a finance manager. Everybody is an expert. And they're like, no. You don't need any of that stuff.
How much time do you think is going to transpire between these things, Max?
I want to say no less than 15 to 45 minutes.
Okay,
Because in a busy dealership, you build multiple deals at the same time, especially if it's a busy day, if it's a sale.
Max, you and I are old school. We are old school people, but I have already moved on. I believe this is going to roll over us if we don't go with it.
Okay,
you have to look at the reason why.
Okay.
I believe like everything else, and I'm going to jump in here, that it is going to be partial. Do I think that video F&I has a place? Yes. Do I think that it happens in the consideration phase of buying a vehicle? Absolutely not. A, you're not going to get finance managers to do it. And B, it goes exactly what Max is just saying. If we pre-sell this stuff at the numbers of close, there's no excitement in the vehicle, no excitement of actually getting the vehicle. That's the time when we sell the extra products, is at that space. And that's when it needs to still happen.
Yeah.
I do, however, think that there is a great opportunity for video F&I in certain areas. One, if you're doing out-of-state deals. Two, if you have rural locations. I've looked at the idea of what if you had a group with a centralized F&I to handle your rural areas, where now you can have higher caliber of F&I managers selling, right?
There you go. Now, let me interrupt you a second. Part of the concept is that you would have a central F&I manager, one of your superstars, not one of your wannabes or has-beens or never wases. A superstar F&I manager can talk to a lot of people in a lot of different locations. You could have a centralized F&I. That's part of what they're talking about now. And
yeah, I like that. But I also like, there's one other aspect that I think could work really well. Saturday afternoon, like clockwork, they're going to get buried. And you now have a situation where the finance department is 7 deep and we're holding hostage customers for hours and hours and hours. I do think there's also a capability of saying, hey, let's send this customer home in their brand new car, and then set up an appointment for, Monday at 10 a.m., Sunday at 1 p.m., whatever the case may be, to finalize their paperwork and do it at that time, so that you don't have this bad experience of time that customers have. But I still believe that 80% of the business we do today will be done the way it's still done.
And I still do as well. But I'm going to say you've got to have all modalities of buying a car. You've got to have every way the customer could conceivably buy a car available. Jump in there, Jason.
No, look, a tool is only as good as how well it's being used. I mean, we were doing Skype calls with clients in 2009, 2008. People wanted to purchase a vehicle. They needed a co-signer. we could do a Skype call. Where I was located, we were in a heavy university area, and we had, parents purchasing vehicles, some ridiculous vehicles. I mean, we were sometimes selling Nissan GTRs and dealing with people all the way across the other side of the globe, and would jump on a Skype call to review over, all of the financials. But I mean, like, it's just unique to the individual. This is more of a question of the customer experience, not necessarily what everyone's going, to gravitate towards. To April's point, it's going to be about the individual, but we should be talking about how we need to have options. I think that's the one thing that we learned over the last few years, is that the customer wants an ABC option, the way that they can purchase a vehicle, the way they can test drive a vehicle, and now with their communication, like, I don't want anybody calling me. Does anybody actually want to take a phone call? Like, text message me. I'm literally going through the entire process of getting a new mortgage, which is substantially larger than a car, and I've done pretty much the entire transaction via text message, discussing back and forth, because I feel like I can text them, they can text me back.
Is it a new mortgage broker or one you've used before?
It's a new one. And they pretty much asked me right out of the gate, what is your preferred form of communication? And I was like, look, it's text. It's the same thing. It's like, it's so funny how many more video calls I get now than ever before from kind of my inner circle of people. Like, they won't even call me. They won't even text me. They'll just jump on a quick video call. And maybe,
Jason, all my conversations with dealers now are Zoom. I'm not calling anybody. I'm selling seminars right now, but it's all on Zoom.
100%.
It's so funny because I video text like regularly as a regular habit. I make quick videos and then send them by text. And I'm in agreement that you have to be able to do this any way that a customer wants to do it. Also, would like to just point out, though, that we're really not in jeopardy of any of the finance managers or sales managers like coming up and just hooking onto this technology and doing it. I don't know how many people you guys teach video to, but I'm doing it this week too. And it is like pulling teeth to create buy-in to get them to do it. So it's a lightened risk. But look, we take TOs on the phone for finance. And e-contracting means a contract can be done.
We're going to have to, Bobbie, we're train new people if the old people won't do it.
Well, and that's what we do. And truthfully, we get a buy-in there by showing the data that shows conversion, right? But at the same time, like, I train finance managers. I know that when we go in to do training, getting them to take a phone call on a cash TO is like pulling teeth.
Or return a phone call.
So getting old John Roberts Sr. to jump on a video is not going to be an easy feat. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying the tool is only as good as the people that will use it in the process.
But I think it is important to make sure that we make a separation here, because Jim, you mentioned Roadster, and we're not talking about in a digital retail. And I know a lot of tools are integrating video into digital retailing, but we're talking currently about integrating face-to-face video in finance. Specifically,
they're talking about that. And I want to go farther than that, because, Roadster is a digital retailing tool. Now I think they're incorporating video. I'm not getting a clear answer on that, but I think they are. I know that DriveCentric has it in the CRM.
Video, yeah. Most of the CRMs do. They either have their own or they have an integration. And most of the highest converting opportunities for traffic in a store, for true opportunities, are converted through video. It's not the old school, like, go walk out and do a walk around video and send it to the customer. It's humanize yourself so that you're relatable and it's not just another conversation.
I think there are two types of video that we're talking about. There's a finance manager doing the video presentation.
We're talking about live interaction, not
right, which
video.
April made a good point. If you're in a rural area or if it's an out-of-state customer, you need a finance manager be comfortable enough to do this via FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, whatever.
And your repeat buyers who already trust you and love efficiency and time. Let's not forget those.
But then, guys, there's also a concept of remote F&I, where, a company like JM&A does it for the dealership. So their person is sitting
Wait a second.
in Florida.
You brought up something I didn't want to bring up yet, but you brought it up. This is going to be an employee of JM&A or a contractor of JM&A. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly right. And that employee is not free. You're not
Bullshit.
replacing payroll for your existing finance manager.
Now, I'm not going to say bullshitski quite yet, but
That's a swear word. We don't swear on here, sir.
okay, well, that was Russian.
Polish.
Bullshitski. Max has Russian heritage. Okay,
Right, I know.
anyway.
So what they're talking about is a contract worker that's remote.
Right.
Excuse
And this
me.
is what I mean by a logistical nightmare, because if the remote finance managers in another state, they need to not just be able to pitch the menu via video, they also need to integrate with the dealer's DMS. And dealer can have Reynolds and Reynolds, CDK, Dealer Track, Adam, whatever it is, right? And the menu that they're pitching, the payment must match to a penny the payment in the DMS. This is where real world comes in, right? And these connections are not easy to make, guys. And if you think it's like, oh, let me just flick my fingers, it's
That's
a
what
done
I
deal.
do, Max. It is actually easy if you set it up the right way.
I'm going to disagree, Max. This one, that is actually easy. With
Yeah.
the tools like Darwin and stuff, you have somebody who's actually selling the product. They use Darwin, that pushes back to if they're going to still sign the paperwork at the dealership level, and that contractor is only taking care of the selling portion, then I could see it working. If they're responsible to also take it all the way to the finish line, then I think you have a logistical nightmare. So I think
you got a lot of VPN setups in that last scenario, April, which does add a layer of complication, but it also would provide a layer of security for the dealer versus that third-party contractor. Now, as far as getting it to match to the penny, Max, I'm not saying that a lot of the systems across the country don't, because nobody set them up the right way. But if you actually take 5 minutes to do it the right way, it will work. I do it with all my clients. It's very important. I was actually kind of laughing because, the desk is already going to have, most of the information for that deal built in the desking system, which in a lot of stores is in the CRM or the DMS. Then you've got the finance manager that's going to be presenting. The products push back. You have the vehicle information pushing from one side. You have the products pushing. Everything goes to the DMS. And even if you had to have a VPN set up for that person in the virtual box to push a button to print to a network printer, that's the only complication I see is for actual wet ink printing, because it would require that VPN.
Not every state will allow e-contracting. A lot of states require wet ink signatures.
at least for the title paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's talk about the other part of this thing is that you've got the we're talking just F&I, but I can see this going into the BDC. I can see this going into the sales manager selling the car. What is the
It's already in the BDC.
We already use video like it's our job. If anybody needs to know how,
I'm talking about live Zoom conversations.
Yeah. So remember, we've talked about Auto iPacket, which is a conversion tool on a website that has a Zoom integration, has had a Zoom integration. I've been using that on my Highline stores since before the pandemic. If not just loose, there definitely is live video. When we were with Cardinale, we had our own video chat on the website.
You and I spoke about that yesterday. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I'll give you a real live example right now of a whole sales team that can do it. So Ashley Church's store, VW of Marion, which I will only name drop because she would be fine with giving the real information to a dealer who wants to know this. They went 100% Zoom during the height of COVID in pods from home. They had sales meetings by Zoom. They did finance by Zoom. They did all of their.
Zoom was born of the pandemic.
But what I'm saying is they fully ran a dealership operation successfully for months using Zoom. And although everybody's returned back to the dealership and they're offering both options, they still offer those options to customers regularly.
That is what it's all about. Zoom was born of the pandemic.
Jim, before we leave the finance office for this technology, I would like to just make note and make a reminder that June 23rd is the deadline for the extension of the FTC safeguards rules. So if you are considering integrating a technology such as this for your finance office, you better update the required documentation for the FTC safeguards. I mean, you already have only until the 23rd of June to get your documentation together to begin with. And if you are going to integrate it, that would need to be updated. And I don't know, again, I've not evaluated. Some of these are newer technologies integrating some existing chat partners. My number one concern with that would be the transcript not being secure from a finance conversation. So a couple things to think of from a compliance standpoint before we jump out of the finance office.
I also, Jim, want to say that, Zoom was born during COVID and it also died after COVID. If you just track their stock price, you will realize that people are not interested in video conversations.
Well,
They're
it's
interested
not
in
that they
belly-to-belly
were forced to
interactions.
use it. They were forced.
And right, they were forced to use it. Exactly.
That doesn't
So
mean they're not interested.
Given a
It's
choice,
just,
given a choice, they're not interested in that. And I think every one of you can confirm the fact that customers went to the dealership physically. They walked, they took a car, they took a bus, right, and bought a car belly to belly. So,
I think that's correct, Max. Nobody's arguing with that. But
okay.
the point everybody seems to be missing.
I'm going to argue with it. And here's why.
Bobby,
Bobby,
I can argue with it. and here's
Bobby,
why.
let me cut your
Throw out
microphone.
data.
I was speaking, Bobby. Hang on one second. I'm going to give you a turn, Bobby. One thing we're all missing is that this is the alternative. This is when people are going to totally transact on the internet. They're going to watch a couple of funky videos, which they don't watch, and then nobody's going to sell them F&I. Or at the 0 point when they're ready to transact, these are the people who are totally buying the car online. Now, you mentioned Brian Benstock. He sells a hell of a lot of home deliveries where people totally transact online. There are dealerships that do that. So what is the alternative? Either the F&I manager can jump in there with a video and sell them some things while they are transacting and buying a car, or we can let them watch a couple of videos, which they don't watch, and still buy the car with no F&I sold. That is the alternative.
Well, see, this is the problem with our industry, is that we say everything's either left or right. Like, guys, come on. There's no left or right here. It's like it's literally up to user. All right. I need to be able to be flexible as a consumer to choose how I'm going to engage with you, when I'm going to engage with you, how often I'm going to engage with you. Like, I mean, guys, look, I come from the automotive space of the 14-point walk around and forcing the customer to hold open the hood, not using the latch, so that I maintain control of the entire presentation. That this shit's gone. It's done. It's done. It's all in the consumer's hands. They can decide how far they want to, like how they want to engage with us, when they want to engage us, and what medium they want to engage with us. And it's our responsibility as dealers to meet, all right, their expectations. Their expectations is that we don't have one choice of engagement, but we have 5 choices of engagement. What's your flavor today? That's how we're going to communicate with you.
Have
I
it
just
your
want
way.
to point out that the bottom right corner, is the woke corner. Bobby and Jason.
Woke.
That's the woke.
We're woke to the customer
Okay.
experience.
No,
That's what
here's
we're woke
the
to.
thing that's always funny.
Get
to
him,
me.
B.
People who are very left and right always think that this, first of all, woke by definition is not a bad thing. But in the way that it's used sometimes on here and in politics and everywhere else, it's this label of almost like ignorant misogyny that's like, oh, because you're progressive and open-minded. And here's the thing. I don't think that video is going to be for everybody. But I'll tell you what, right now, Zoom does have a usage decline. Does that mean nobody wants to use it? It still has 33.3 trillion minutes or something crazy used a year. But you know what did change? Every public school in the country that closed down during COVID used Zoom. And now the schools are back open. So some things have changed, but there's multiple different meeting sources. We're on a version of Zoom right now. We're not standing live in a conference somewhere. If we wanted to sell a ticket to this conversation, we could. If somebody wants to watch it later, they can. But the difference is we gave them a choice. That does not mean that we have to be ignorant to all the options that are available to people. And everything coming up to finance, doing video and doing Zooms is an opinion. Yes, you can't e-contract in every state, but in Michigan, I can not only RDR my vehicle, I can RD1 await through the state. I can process all of your titling paperwork without a wet signature. I can e-contract without a signature, and I can sell a car without you driving it over the curb when you sign it. As a matter of fact, the convenience I can offer you would probably increase my product percentage and my per car. And I don't know how I would know that except that I did finance for Sonic Automotive in Michigan and still sometimes do. I don't know if that makes me woke or if it just makes me educated.
Jump in there, April.
You know, here's the bottom line. I don't think that actually Jason said it well. There's no right, there's no left. And I say this a lot. I have my very own opinions, and my opinions are dictated by my backyard. And my backyard is not Michigan. My backyard is Arizona. And in Arizona, we are a little more Wild West. And I have to take into consideration that my competition here is not the same. So I have to adhere to the way that makes sense for me to maximize sales and profit. And that's not always going to be that way. I still have to get a wet signature on a title application. I still have certain things that have to be done. And we are in a hyper aggressive market in Arizona. So we don't have high lease penetration. We are a melting pot, which means a lot of people are moving here from other states. There's no loyalty because we don't have that foundation. So
what's your average buyer's age, April?
Oh, it's all over the place depending on the store. So a couple of my stores, because they have a high snowbird population, so half of the year, their population triples. And that means that I have a more elderly clientele. And then I have other stores like the one I'm sitting on top of right now that has absolutely every demographic and everything in between. And the reality of it is because there's no loyalty, customer experience is important, but we have to maximize every little avenue. And the biggest avenue we have to maximize is finance. And the best way to maximize finance is belly up at the time of delivery when they're super excited out there to grab.
I agree with that 100%. Everybody, I am talking about people that are totally transacting online, and if I was in a Highline store, that is more likely to occur. People are buying $300,000 McLarens sight unseen.
Listen, I think there are two distinctions here. First, there are Highline dealers, and then there's everybody else, right? Yeah. Can you do video F&I preemptively in a Highline dealership? 100%. If you're buying a McLaren, a Rolls Royce, you should pitch F&I products before the customer even agrees to make a deal. Right? So you can just roll it into the sale price because most of these deals are cash deals anyway. Right? Nobody's financing a $450,000 Rolls Royce.
You would actually be surprised. The numbers actually.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, Jason, because there is no Rolls Royce financial.
No, you're having other companies actually pick up that paper. All right, they're leasing them out.
So then, Jason, then there's everybody else, right? There's Toyota, there's Honda, there's Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge.
They're borrowing against their own money.
Yeah,
exactly.
First of all,
no one that level actually spends their own money.
So in a real world, in a real dealership, unfortunately, majority of dealer principals, general managers, and finance managers know that F&I is the true profit center once you take out the pandemic premium. Right? And they still believe that it's a belly-to-belly business and you need to bum rush the customer the last minute in the box. That's why there's zero information on majority of dealers' website when it comes to F&I products. Right? This is a hard reality, guys. You can be in a fantasy world thinking that this is how it works, but in the real world, they walk you into the box. Right? You have the best closer in the dealership, pick up $2,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 in the next 20 to 25 minutes. Something that your useless salesperson couldn't do in 6 hours.
So why do they physically have to be in the box, Max?
Because it's control.
You can't get to the box without the useless salesperson closing the deal.
Right. So the useless salesperson will have to lowball the customer to get them in the box.
It's funny because some of the things that we talk about in here, I always laugh when we get off because I'm not advocating that we do this with finance or that we don't. I'm just saying we can. There's very little
100%.
stopping for it. We can't.
Bobbie, we can do many things. It doesn't mean we should.
That's how we make fantasies reality, Max. I'm a dream chaser over here. I'm an idealist and a realist, and I bring a little bit of fantasy to your life. Like open up your mind a little bit, Max. It's fine.
I guess I don't see why we shouldn't. If it is a way a customer wants to contract and the transaction, the technology is simple and safe and secure for the dealer from a risk compliance standpoint, I don't see why we wouldn't have it as an option or why we shouldn't. Now, remember,
because F&I is a dirty secret. F&I profit is a dirty secret that dealer principals don't want customers
F&I
to
can
know about.
actually be a pleasant experience. You know how many dealerships I've convinced to get rid of the box, all right, and move to a finance lounge?
I'm going to say zero, Jason.
Where it's
zero.
a comfortable space where you're actually sitting in a sofa side by side with each other, reviewing actual real data. Like, it's so weird that for a $40,000, $50,000 transaction, we can't understand this, but every mortgage company in the world doesn't do a transaction in a box. It doesn't exist in
maybe like this box right here, right?
I think it's because men designed it and they like things that are in boxes.
I guess so. But look, but we also haven't talked about, because I think that's something we should talk about. The one thing we haven't talked about is actually the branding opportunity here. Because I think there's a substantial branding opportunity to say that, hey, we're willing to meet you where you want to be met. And that's rare. And I think there's some amazing groups. There's some amazing.
There are people
accommodating a tiny minority. That's not what majority wants. That's accommodating a tiny minority.
Half of that.
It's just like cars are the only thing that are so difficult. This is the only industry that is so difficult for a customer to do business in. Everything else we transact online. Everything else we have an option to. We don't wait for shows to come out anymore. We don't buy houses by going to every single house anymore. We don't buy jewelry or mattresses or any of those things. And those have 500% markups. And yet our customers run around talking about how we put a gun to their head because they had $3,000 in gross on their freaking deal because they hate the process.
Yeah, but the process isn't going to change as long as competition is still the driving force. I mean,
that should be the driving force.
The core of all those other things that you just talked about, there's no competition. If I'm buying a house, I put it in the bid and either I get
price competition.
If I buy a piece of jewelry online, I'm going to pay whatever they say I'm going to pay, and that's it.
But there's all the same stories.
How it works, and that's where the core of why some of these things are the driving force behind it is the competition.
I just think that all of these things are like if you buy a mattress, there's 100 different stores you can buy it from. If you want to buy a couch, there's 100 different stores you can buy it from. If I want to buy a boat, there's 100 different stores I can buy it from. And I don't have to transact any of those things 100% online. Does that mean that it's more beneficial to the dealer to do it in person or online? Of course it's more beneficial in person. The read of energy, the flow in the room, we all know that closing something in person is not only easier, but it typically transacts at a higher rate. However, that doesn't mean that we can't adapt to it a different way. And there's markets that things don't work in. There's markets that BDCs don't work in. There's stores that GSMs don't work in anymore. We used to have closers on the floor. Things are different now, but to look at it and just say, it's not a possibility doesn't make any sense to me.
What's the matter with closers on the floor? Wait a second.
No, nobody said there's anything matter with it. But
no, but that's exactly it, right? See, everybody hears what they want to hear and not what anybody says.
I want to pick up off of something that April had said. And April, I don't normally disagree with you, but I am going to disagree with you.
Oh, no.
Well, because I believe that price is
April, now you're officially in the inner tribe. If she's never disagreed with you.
Right. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. And I do agree with you that in super competitive markets, it can be hard to set yourself apart on anything other than price. But I will tell you, I work for one of the most competitive dealer groups in Detroit, Michigan, which was employee pricing, all of these things. And we were able to gain and grab market share with the experience, because even for that clerk who makes $40,000 a year, time is money. And we are ignoring the fact that we have one of the most long and irritating and frustrating processes for the purchase for our consumers. So if this technology, or even integrating a little bit of it, if we're talking about 15 or 20% of our deals and giving that as a level of service, I think that it can add to your level of competition and set you apart, even in the most price competitive markets, if you market it the right way.
Right, but Jennifer, again, listen, let's go back to reality, right?
I
You're a
just
dealer
told you
principal.
I did it. You see that
Right.
real award right back there,
That's
Matt?
like, let's assume for a second you
Wait a minute, there's another woke person in the audience. Look,
Let me tell you
Right,
what, I
100%,
just looked up who
100%.
made that comment because I wanted to know who was that brilliant. And that's
Right.
Ashley from Walzer. And she is brilliant.
Right.
And
Oh, yeah, she's got
of
one
course
of
she knows
those
I'm right.
too.
Of course she knows. She's the same
So
way.
as a dealer principal, right? You deal in reality, right? And you deal with limited resources.
No,
What
that's not
secrets
true.
are you hanging
You
out
have
with?
limited resources.
Well,
So
we
your
deal in
limited
future.
resources will dictate that you have to pay attention to what majority of your customers want to do. And the majority of your customers want to come to the showroom, touch the car, test drive the car,
I agree.
and then be put in the F&I. And you
All
can,
right, Captain Unwoke, where's the data live other than
Right.
opinion?
That's
Show me
not
the
it. This is
numbers.
reality,
I wanna
Bobby. You
see.
can ask any of your dealers.
No, I'm
whether
a
they
data nerd. I
sold-
want to see real data, not perception.
Both of you, Max, you just said something. Most of your customers, I'm dealing with other customers.
Exactly.
Not most of them. There are customers that are buying cars, totally transacting online. They're
Right.
not watching those funky, stupid videos. Nobody's watching the video on the service contract. Nobody's watching the gap video. Nobody's watching any of those videos, the maintenance video. There, unless an F&I manager can come in there with a live presentation, it's not going to happen.
Correct. So
Bobbie's
in
right.
most cases, we need to focus on reality, and reality is different
First time he's
from
ever said that.
accommodating
Bobbie's right. Oh, no.
from accommodating this tiny percentage that wants to transact over FaceTime. Give me a break.
Timer
Why
roads,
can't they
Give
have
me a
both?
break.
Why
Unless
can't
you're
they have
buying a Highline car across state lines, there's no reason for you to transact.
Why is a
over
Highline
FaceTime
customer
with
more
you.
important than another customer?
Can I just jump in and
Go
say
ahead.
that I agree with
Jump
everything?
in, Jenna. I'll shut everybody else's microphone
Here's the
off.
thing. I want to agree with everybody, but I think we have to segment this out. Okay. There are certain customers that need help buying a car, that then also need help financing and deciding what products they need. And that is one customer that I don't believe will ever be an A to Z transacting online customer. There is those customers. And if you have a majority of those customers in a particular rooftop, then that particular rooftop is probably not going to subscribe to some of these things. You then have a whole segment of people like myself. If I decided what I want to buy, I know what the car is, I probably don't need to go into the dealership. In fact, I did buy my camper completely on, basically online. Called them, said, here's what I want. I did the F&I exactly as we're talking about. So I did do that process that way because I knew what I wanted. I know where my credit is. So those customers that are the 720 plus credit customers, those are your people that we have a potential right here to offer this offering because time is money. So I do agree with all of that. But I also think that there's a extreme other side where there's this belief system from mostly the OEMs that all customers will buy cars online. And so I think there's a disconnect here where we've just got to say, look, everyone on this panel is right, depending on which customer and which scenario, at which moment you're talking about.
I think that April is a good arbitrator.
Let's all join hands and sing Kumbaya.
But you're right, April. And isn't this the frustration that we have with a lot of things in our industry where, and we have such great conversations about them, but like people watching, it's the same thing. Is it doesn't have to be one way or the other. It can be that both things are allowed. It can also be that what works in one location, one store, one state is not the same as what works in something else. And so there may be, a F&I person that just kills it on video, is super extroverted and charming, and doesn't mind taking all their cash TOs on video, or their Highline customer, you know what I mean? Anything like that. But they have a process in place and they're trying it, and that's okay too.
But
Well,
the one thing we haven't talked about.
wants to be an F&I guy, right? The person who's transitioning, maybe he's the guy that takes all of those customers right now, and that's how you prove yourself to move to another position. I mean, there's so much opportunity where we just have to recognize what the core is for the dealership, which is F&I is the biggest profit center for dealers, and that's not.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Per square inch, nobody makes as much profit as the F&I manager.
So what I would like us to do as an industry is just.
But I think everything trickles down from Highline stores, guys. So you pilot everything in a Highline store. And with time, it trickles down to mass-produced cars.
It's not that, guys.
You should absolutely use video in a Highline store preemptively
video in a
throughout
Hyundai
the
store.
process.
Or conversely, again,
Right.
Max can say it's not reality, but you could read about it in a number of industry magazines on how I did it in my Chevy store.
I mean, you guys, you see this comments, by the way. You see this comments, by the way. Thank you.
From Adam? Yes, thanks, Adam.
Adam, how many did you?
Somebody needs to give his millennial self a trophy.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm sorry. Don't be a snowflake and cry, Max. But here's the thing. If you can, this again goes back to value.
We've all
if
lost
you
our
can
minds.
take, and I took a customer package, a value proposition that we layered on, and I modeled it from a Highline store, and I implemented it across 5 Chevrolet stores, 2 Hyundai stores, and a Kia. So if you want to talk about mainline, let's talk about mainline. And it gave us the competitive advantage because those Chevy customers got treated like an Audi customer or a Mercedes customer. It was a differentiator. And I'm not saying 100% model. What I'm saying is it is not that much of an expense to integrate technologies like that to give your customer a different kind of experience. And again, I will bring this up just like we do when we talk about transacting online. If all you're thinking about is what is it up to now, like somewhere between 3 and 5% of registrations that are end-to-end online, and you're not in April, I know in your market you don't have, in some military markets you don't have a loyalty database, but if you're not actively marketing loyalty through your database with a button that says, talk to me now about turning it in, talk to me now about extending your contract, talk to me now about this, and launching directly into a live video chat with your finance team, you are missing money and leaving it on the table.
You're going to have a video channel. Now, I'm saying Max is 100% right. Your best opportunity
He's
is
not wrong on a lot of that.
in the F&I.
It's crazy, right? Every show, I'm 100% right.
Let's not get crazy here.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab a minute.
Wait a second, folks. That is your best opportunity to make maximum profit and maximum customer satisfaction. Absolutely. Because we're not going to hammer the people into buying these products. We're going to use finesse. We're going to use your conversation. But
I mean,
still,
we're going to offer it 100%.
there are those customers that aren't in the dealership that I need a video conversation with. Do I agree with JM&A with a third-party F&I manager centralized somewhere? Heck, no.
That makes
I
me
disagree with that. Sorry, guys.
Can I say something unpopular, though?
Not in my world.
Can I say something unpopular, though, about that? Look, you got to give them a little bit of, let's give them a little bit of a shout out here. Let's pretend for a minute that we're not talking about the right thing or the wrong thing for the dealer or whatever. Brilliant. How many dealerships right now don't have a finance manager or don't have coverage or don't have somebody? They just offered a remote solution. They might not be selling it that way. But that was smart. I'm not saying it'd be smart to use it, but I'm saying sometimes when they come out with something, it's like, and I don't like to give Jamin any kind of credit, but
in a sense, it could be too, Bobbie. I mean, what if you have a small store where you only have one finance guy, he quits on you, and you have no one else that you can plug into the situation? That happens a lot. And
you spend $10,000 a day bringing
We've got Adam Warburger on the sidebar, great F&I trainer.
I know we need to get Adam on here, man. Cool cat. Hey, real quick, I'm gonna put my dealer principal hat on. So, guys, just look.
I need a change. Can you change a background, your face?
Yeah. Let me do that real quick. I'm gonna be like Clark Kent. I'm gonna
take your glasses off so it's different.
All right. So as a dealer principal,
it just got real.
It's shit got real. I'm sorry, I said it. Sorry.
Come on, Batman. Let's hear what you got.
Okay, so as a dealer principal, like we get hit with many different solutions, many different processes, many different technologies. All right, and we have to split. Look, there are only so many processes that our team can execute on a regular basis. I feel so naked without my glasses, but I'll go with
Look really
it. So, like there's only so many processes that our team's going to be able to effectively execute. All right, so when we're met with a new live chat on the website, if we're met with a new widget that goes on the website and generates new leads, we're met with a new F&I process, there are two things we look at. There's the operational value, okay, and then there is the perceived value. And that is the one thing that we haven't talked about. And dealer principals actually have to calculate both of these, okay? Because sometimes the perceived value can actually outweigh the actual operational value. I remember this because I remember this in the 2010, 2011. There was a lot of this overnight test drives.
Yeah.
Right. This 24-hour test drives. Right. And we had to take a look at what the operational value was versus what the perceived value was. And the bottom line is, a lot of those campaigns only had like a 3% or a 2% take, but the perceived value of offering them differentiated us so much from our competition that it was worth putting it into place and that a process could actually be executed. So look, up to this point, we've talked about the operational value of it, but I still think that we need to talk about the perceived value of it, because I, as a dealer principal, would do this because I think the perceived value differentiates me so much from my competition that even if there was a small percentage, I know, Max, a small percentage, all right, maybe it's just on my GTRs and my McLarens, all right, but a small percentage, it's enough of a perceived value that people would look at and go, wow, they do that? They offer that? All right. Well, the other guys don't do that. We should check out these guys versus we check out the others.
That's a great point.
I feel like that's what I said a minute ago.
It's a great point. Yeah. Yeah, but you didn't change your face.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that worked. Like, it was like, it felt real, like it felt different. And I'm glad that you put your glasses
But to Jason's point is, as a dealer principal, consider it. My point was, it's a great selling point to the consumers that you have that as a value. So same, different sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, my point in the whole thing is this, and it's the same as it was with EV and everything else that we talk about, which is you have to be open to what a customer's needs and wants are. You have to be open to what your competitors might do that you are not willing to or haven't begun yet. And you have to be open to what's going to be an option in your store now and in the future. And it's better to start researching those things now and getting ahead of the competition than it is to wait. If it doesn't,
I think we've said that over and over again. I think that's a point we've made.
You'd think so, but we're still talking about it.
Guys, this is a rare instance. I'm going to agree with Bobbie, right?
No, wait a second.
I feel like something sarcastic.
Very, very rare instance.
You're going to agree with Bobbie?
Yes.
So, Jim, are you going to all the people that agree with me in the comments?
No, so there is a tiny percentage of customers, right, that wants to transact online through video, through smoke signals, and if we can accommodate, and we should, the problem is this, and this is where I agree with Bobbie. To get a finance manager to make a follow-up phone call or to get on the phone with a cash customer is like pulling teeth. To get a finance manager on a Zoom call, right, or a FaceTime call is even harder.
Get a new F&I manager.
Or send your existing ones to Jim's training program.
Let him finish, people. He said he agreed with me. Okay, let's let him finish that point.
It all comes down to job descriptions, right? And if when you hire a finance manager, you explain to them in their job description they have to contact customers by phone and by video,
and in their pay plan,
in
their pay plan,
exactly, and then the pay plan as well.
Yeah. And integrate that into your interview process and ask them to make you a video of them presenting the menu and send it in before you do an in-person interview. We've been doing this with internet salespeople for almost as long as we've been talking about video.
So just for fun, I would be willing to challenge Max to any in-store location that's willing to let us do it. To you run finance box and I'll run the other one, and I'll do 100% of mine by Zoom and you do 100% of yours in person, and let's see.
And I will wipe the floor with you. I will wipe the floor with you.
I so want to see that.
I love it that you think so, but where I'm good at a lot of things, like finance is still my favorite position that I ever worked in.
Oh my God.
I'm going to wipe the floor with you, Bobbie. Max is going to wipe
Challenge
the
accepted.
floor with you, Bobbie.
How about whoever wins pays the other person's travel expenses, and I'm not paying for you to come from Spain,
Okay,
so I'm definitely going to win.
So anybody out there watching and listening right now, okay, we have Max on one side, we got Bobbie on the other.
And
All right.
in this
They
corner,
will come to your dealership for one day. All right, it's going to be a Saturday, and they're gonna work the box for you. All right, head to head. I'm going to come in, document the whole thing. If you're watching and listening right now, and you're interested in participating in this, hit me up. We're going to make this happen.
Yeah,
Max, you're going to lose.
but I'll tell you what. In that day, I'll run the BDC, the sales desk, and the finance office. Just
Oh
because
my
I
God.
can. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I don't want to be cocky because that's just not good. But I would love to do something like that because look, here's the thing. I do think that we need both, but also I would love to show people what it looks like in real time to have two different finance managers who don't want to do it the same and how you could actually make it work. And that is a gift that we would give to the audience.
You know, we're on a platform right now. We're talking about evolution. We're on Restream. And does everybody know, Max, do you know what Restream evolved from, what it used to be?
I have no idea, Jim.
It used to be called Periscope.
Do you remember Periscope?
Remember Periscope? Well, this is the remnants of Periscope now. It's Restream. Everything
To be
evolves.
fair, Periscope was
Everything
only around
evolves.
for a short period of time.
I wish I could see who made that comment. That's the Facebook user that must be in the Alpha Dawg group. I wish you could see that
Right,
fast
that
enough. It's
Facebook
gotta be
user is
somebody
so out
who's
of
worked
touch.
in a
Right,
store
that
with
Facebook user doesn't know that I derive 100% of my income from F&I, unlike Bobbie.
I'm a closer. In case you didn't know, I derive most of my commission-based income on my agreements with my clients off of commission, and that includes in finance offices. So,
Hey,
I just think it'd be fun. I think
Ashley
we'd learn a lot from
Cavazos
you.
on the
We'd learn a lot
sidebar
from me.
too.
We'd learn a lot from each other. I think it would be a win-win.
We got Ashley Cavazos in the audience. Hey,
I don't know. I take
where did Ashley land, April?
Oh, actually,
Ashley, where are you now? I know you've moved.
Yeah, she just,
What-
I don't know what we're allowed to say, so I don't want to tell her story, but she's welcome to share it. But Ashley is amazing. And she's 40 under 40.
Ashley is amazing. I've had her on the show before.
Friday, she says.
Oh, you'll find out
Friday.
Friday. Okay, we got a big secret going on with Ashley. Okay.
You're proud of her.
Oh,
I want to make one other point about what Jason said real quick because I actually agree with everything he said when he took his glasses off.
everything? Good.
Only when he took his glasses off. Though.
Only when he took his glasses off. So maybe you can leave your glasses off a little more often. But there is one thing that happens a lot with dealer principals and general managers where this fails in the perception idea. And that is just signing a contract for a widget does not mean it works. If I put up and say, yes, we can offer this solution, but then we can't execute it on at all because we don't actually answer a live chat or we don't actually get back to a customer in the way they expect, then that is actually a worse fail than doing it. So
Yeah,
just
you're right.
the one caveat I want to add to that is to make sure that we're not just signing a contract, agreeing to pay for a widget, and then just expecting that that's going to work.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and that's great advice for the audience. I mean, you
Yeah,
usually
we don't.
are-
Yeah,
you
we don't
usually
have a
are
lot
right
of
about things.
We have a lot of
Logical and
execution.
arbitrary. What's the word? What would be the word for that?
Well, I like
Like
arbitration.
Switzerlandish.
That one in my wheelbox.
I don't even know if we can say that anywhere about Switzerland, but once upon a time, like pre-glasses, Switzerland.
Yes.
Oh,
I love
I
it. I love it.
It's Patrick who said it. So here's how true you have to know it is. My ex is saying I'm a killer in F&I, and you know exes don't lie. They're like children in leggings and drunk people. So that is like a testing. Right there.
oh, golly. Okay, as we wind down the spirited broadcast.
Best part of my Tuesday. The best part of my Tuesday right now.
I know it's so fun.
Russell agrees. Russell Hill said, "What a great panel."
Thank you, Russell.
We are a great panel. Don't be waving that. He loves this discussion. Look at this. There you go.
We've been having
Anyway,
fun because Jim's been a captain instigator the entire time.
no.
You know what? Jim said just enough to set everybody off. I loved it. Jim, this was probably one of the best episodes I've seen you just kind of like, poke.
Yeah, Bobbie is so woke, according to Max.
Well, before we let folks
I'd
all the
rather
way
be
out,
woke than
Jim
be
Ganther
quiet.
did
He's
clarify
sleeping.
a date, guys. I want to talk about, just bring it back to the whole safeguards deadline is the 9th of June.
Of June.
I said June 23rd, which really was 2023 because it was a 6-month extension of that deadline. June 9th. And if you don't know, there's a group that doesn't exist online that I was posting that checklist for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how Jim Ganther. That's how you know Jim Ganther is watching.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure anybody listening knows it's the 9th of June. You got to get that.
Safeguards, June 9th. Okay, everybody.
Hi,
Wave goodbye to the audience.